the other thing we were concerned about was, given that Brazil has weathered this storm pretty well and is certainly developing a very good posture in its international reputation, is the kind of growth they've been having sustainable over a longer period of time?
Well, I think that is a more challenging question, because I believe that's something that policymakers will have to work on. We had all this progress that we just talked, but we still have a major part or a big part of the population that's not really integrated in the labor market. This part of the population has been helped by the Bolsa Familia, which is a program where the government actually helps these people to, with kind of an alimony every month, but they're not really integrated in the labor market. So we need to do that. We need to incorporate segments of the population. We need to give them a better education and a better training to be able to participate in the labor market. So I think that will be a challenge for the next few years. Also, we have few problems with infrastructure in Brazil that sometimes really can let's say, I think the best word would be really clog or be an obstacle when we start to have a more sustained growth. In other words, if Brazil is to grow at 6-7% a year, Brazil, will have to overcome the infrastructure problems that we have, and we'll have to find a way to have a better labor market with more educated and trained labor.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of discussion there, and other places as well, about what they call the Brazil cost. And
right.
that not only discouraged foreign investors, but was a competitive disadvantage for Brazilian companies in terms of getting their products, to market, to the ports, and shipped out to international markets. But the other aspect, beyond that kind of infrastructure that people have called the cost of Brazil, has been the red tape and the tax system, those sorts of things that drain companies' attention quite a lot. Has there been something done in that area?
Well, unfortunately, not enough. I think that you're right. I think the Brazil cost is something that is in the agenda actually for more than 15 or 20 years. The tax system in Brazil is not good, and it makes it very expensive for doing business in Brazil. And also the fact that there are a lot of bureaucratic problems that make it very hard to start a business, to implement a business, and to go from there. So these are all areas where, and I'm glad you mentioned, because I didn't when I was speaking before, and they are very important, and that's another challenge for the government to really to face these, to tackle these, and to find a solution, because this is a problem when we compare ourselves with other economies that don't have that kind of cost.
And also becomes a challenge for us as a chamber try to promote business with Brazil when I hear back, we try, but it's so hard, it's so costly to sell my product in Brazil. It's difficult, and not just how compared to other countries in which the United States seems to have easier way to sell their products.
Exactly. Yeah, it's. I think almost every aspect of starting doing business in Brazil, it's a challenge for whoever is trying to do that. All kind of obstacles. So and I understand that the work of the chamber makes it, can help a lot, but it's not enough because we have to change the regulations and the tax system and a lot of things, and then infrastructure, really to be able to be a more friendly country for business.
Yeah, those factors have been very, very big in the case of the state of Georgia here, which not that many decades ago was here part of the poorest part of the country. We've had tremendous economic takeoff by focusing on but not only physical infrastructure, because especially our capital city here, Atlanta, is in a position where the roads and the railroads and so forth cross, and we've invested in the airport tremendously. But also in the other kinds of services, from telecommunications to the service organizations like the banks and the law firms, accounting firms, all those things that make it easier to do business, that can help out. And for example, I think you can basically start a business in Georgia in only a few days.
Well, you may take months in Brazil. You probably will take months, so I don't think you can do it in a few days. The last time I saw some statistics about that organization, doingbusiness.com, I think is an organization linked to the World Bank or something. The indicators for Brazil were very bad. How many days you spend to open a business, how many days you spend doing your taxes, how many days it costs in terms of the all the expenses you have to hire labor. It's really bad. But so I think is a challenge for the government. Has to deal with that.
That's been a big change worldwide, too, it seems to me. I mean, if you go back not that many years, most of the statistics about countries were about growth rates, income distribution, basic things like that. But now you've got these World Bank and the World Economic Forum and private rating agencies, all kinds of indices and scales, and these issues of competitiveness, the costs of doing business, how long does it take to open business, how long does it take to close business, those are becoming the factors that lots of people are looking at, and they're comparing one country to another on that basis.
Right, exactly, and then is a disadvantage for Brazil.